All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Public Utilities Commission to order for Monday, July 1, 2019. Please rise, join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public input. I think all the public went home after governor's visit. Any correspondence that we didn't have in the packet? All right. First order of business then is to accept the minutes of the regular meeting of June 17th, 2019. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And I'll just point out one correction. I was not present. So Paul and I were not present for that meeting. So any other corrections or comments? Hearing none, those in favor of approving as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. All right. Invoices. Let's see, to get this rolling, I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the document labeled invoices for PUC approval, regular meeting July 1, 2019. There are 7 items.
No,
Anyway,
there's actually
No,
one,
I'm
two,
sorry,
three,
there's
four,
1,
five
2, 3,
items.
4, 5.
Five.
5.
I was having a rough day.
There were, yeah, all right, there were some carryover, so the numbers are not right. Anyway, 5 items totaling $26,283.08. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all right, so take a look at those. Any questions? Bob is here. So, basically, we have Wright Pierce and town attorney. Any questions for the director?
Well, unrelated to these bills, the last meeting, I had a question about the charges.
Yes, that 5%, is that the one?
Yes,
That was on the Weston and Sampson bills.
yes.
They normally have a markup of 5% on that particular item. They didn't.
Okay,
It's probably just overlooked by them, I would imagine.
okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Director's report, Tom?
Just a couple of quick items, since I wasn't here last week, but our water quality report, consumer conference report, also known as, did get published in last week's Penny Saver. So I don't know if anyone noticed that.
I did see it.
Okay. And the only other item was, I had been filing for grant loan money back from the state, and we did receive the bulk of what we've already spent on the 2018 water mains. $450,000 on the order of, and the 9, 12, and 15 sanitary survey evaluation, we received another 152. So we got 2 good checks there at the end of the year.
Okay.
You raise a question here, Tom.
Sure.
Maybe I wasn't here, you covered it last time. The generators,
Yes, I tracked down another electrician to give me a price on both. I did get a price back from him on one of the sites. He's got it, he's seen it, he's been there, I'm waiting to get that third quote now on Eureka. So I did get somebody out there finally.
I'm talking about not Eureka, but
Briarcliff.
Briarcliff.
Yeah, we were looking at both.
Okay.
So, but yes, he gave me a quote on Briarcliff as well.
Did you try Rizzo?
I didn't get Rizzo, but I had gotten Cannondale Generator.
Yeah.
Number 2 was GDL, who was a vendor that I knew from Norwalk, and then the third price I got was Shock Electric.
Okay.
And they had done the electrical work at Briarcliff, so
Right.
he was real familiar with what's out there.
Remember that one, right.
So I have what I need now to kind of keep
Okay.
that going forward.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
All right,
that was it.
is it? Any other questions for Tom? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. New business, water and sewer budgets. You've had these, Tom passed these out a couple of weeks ago. I'd like to just try your mind, see if you have any questions, are you ready to vote on these? I looked through them, well, Tom and Bob and I went through them, I didn't have any other questions or comments about it.
Well, I have a few questions. One is where do we stand right now compared to our budget for this year? I mean, one thing we don't get is any actuals in the same layout.
Yeah, you do, actually. You have, when I give you the monthly reports, and it'll be at the next meeting, because June just closed, and Ann hasn't done the final closing for the sewer and water, and even for, you know, on the town side with the real estate. But you'll have that in 2 weeks, a preliminary number. But if you look at the printout, there's like 14 pages. The first set is water, the second set is sewer.
Mhm.
You'll see the budgeted amounts on the left-hand side, what was expended and what has either a surplus or a deficit in each individual account.
Okay,
So-
so I can see it in that format, but not, it doesn't match up to this one directly. I'd have to,
The only difference is it's this way, really. I mean, it is, because when Brad has to post the budget
mhm,
to Munis, he has to use the same categories, the same account numbers.
okay,
The only difference you're gonna see next time is right now in the budget here, you got the individual salaries, you know, categories of salaries.
correct.
In Munis now, we only have, it's a 5201 category, and it's all inclusive of all salaries for either water, sewer, and then when you get to the town side, it's all like finance, first selectman, town, tax collector.
Okay.
They're gonna be all summarized into one category.
Okay, I just did,
Yeah, but it's
I
there.
didn't look at it close enough to realize it was the same.
Okay, yeah, it's
layout.
there, yeah.
Good stuff. Why are there no raises?
Basically, we're going through negotiations with the unions, so the increase is put into contingency at this point. If I was to put the raises in on the different categories, it would kind of show our hand to the unions what we're planning on, a salary increase, so it's in there, it's in the budget, but it's not disclosed as a specific item.
That's, just for your information, that's done across the board with all the bargaining units.
Okay,
So we put a number in contingency to handle whatever it might be, that way, it's, I mean, you know, people can figure it out to some degree, but it's kept more or less confidential until it's done. Cause those are, they're in negotiation now.
Police, clerical, and public works, all three unions right now. Dispatch is the only one we have a union contract on that expires in 2 years,
Yeah.
so.
But-
And dispatches are not in sewer or water.
I think the biggest mistake we made over the years, we went with one union. We should have had the public utility should have had its own separate union like other towns do.
Yeah,
It's a lot easier to negotiate, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's up to the guys to.
I know that, but
yeah.
that's the problem when they formed it. I
Yeah,
have a question. We're paying the public work director $22,300 a year. What's that for?
what?
That's an allocation coming off of, there is some work that he does perform.
For
It's been-
$22,300?
That's what the
I
percentage.
understand, I'm not, just question, because we do have our own
Yeah.
engineer now. I know he's the director of public works, he's over all departments, but it is $22,300 that we're paying, which is a lot of money to me.
Well, it's 10 for him and 12.3
You
for
gotta pay
the
the difference,
secretary.
it's still 23,000, however you add it up.
Well, no, it's really 24,000 because it's
Yeah.
on each side.
Yeah,
So, you know, the object of hiring Tom was to eliminate anything Doug was doing.
right,
And I think anything that Doug does do for the PUC, it should be at a minimal. I would like to move that account to 0.
I think that probably, the town budget probably needs to account for that. I don't know if that
Yeah, it would, yeah.
was done.
Yeah, I mean, they would just take it from our account and put it on the other side. but-
Onto the town side.
Okay.
and I got another question.
Yeah.
On planned maintenance, we got 80,000 on the sewer, what's the upgrade for 80,000, what we plan on doing for that?
Well, we're doing a lot of that, CCTVing, and we're looking at all of the manholes and the lines. Some of that requires some heavy cleaning that's not included with CCTVing.
Okay,
So a good portion of that is for that, to take care of that heavy cleaning as we come across it. which hasn't been done in, you know, I couldn't tell you when it was done.
No,
It
I'm
was
not,
never
I'm just looking at the line, to break it down, to spell it out. And I see plant maintenance on the water is 50,000, what are we gonna be doing there?
Again, a lot of that is what have we spent on in previous years, but the plant, that would be equipment at Maple, at any of the facilities, basically.
Do we have an idea what we're gonna be doing with them?
It's just routine maintenance, and it would have been, just typical maintenance that we do on a year-to-year basis. I didn't have anything particular, but that's what the history has been, that's what we've been spending in that account.
Mhm. I just wanted to just break it out, see what you're doing with it, that's all. And then one other thing here, we're spending 92,500 to do our collection agency, which we discussed many times before. That's for 2 people in a tax collector's office, is that correct?
Where is that, what page are you on?
Collection salaries?
Collection
Collection
salaries.
Yes, it's for 2 people, correct.
92,500.
Yeah, one, either Pat is charged the sewer and Aaron is charged the water. I don't know
Oh.
which one it is.
Yeah,
But the
over
salaries
on
are
the second
basically the same.
page.
It's over here.
Now, we got other utilities, we got sewer for 1,000, water for 5,000, what's other utilities?
Other utilities would be, on the sewer side, we have some water accounts at those sewer stations that are outside of our water district. Other utilities would be phone, would be communications.
Okay. That should be, change the state communication, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's just
looking
been,
at- I'm
yeah,
looking at other utilities, it doesn't
Correct.
tell me anything.
it'd be Verizon,
I'm not trying to nail you to the wall, I'm
Sure.
just breaking it out so it
Yep.
spells, it's more
It's-
clear.
it's basically every other utility other than Eversource. There's some gas bills that are probably in there too.
Oh, yeah, I see, yeah.
Chemical costs are.
The what?
Are way down.
I'm sorry?
for next- Chemical supplies,
Yes.
way down for next year.
Using reservoir.
Yeah, at the wells, we've been 100% wells. We're adding chlorine, a hypochlorite, and we're adding an orthophosphate.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not
I think they
using the-
budgeted more when the surface plants needed to be available.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cutting it close, but that's basically what we're using. And that would be the yearly amounts.
And why did our electrical go up $50,000?
I don't think the electric and the utility bills were being allocated directly to utilities. If you look back over the years, that number's been very low. And our pump stations, and all of our facilities we're definitely using more electric than that. I think the town and the finance department has been looking over the course of the last year or more at allocating those electrical accounts to the right location.
That's right, Bob has worked on that every meter is accounted for each building.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, our number's going up, even though that's the
Yeah.
electricity about what we've been using every year, it's now getting
Remember-
charged.
We'll watch this town side, make sure
Yeah.
those are coming down.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
like all the pump stations we have down at Clark Park, have they all been updated, do we have to do anything, worry about doing something down there?
The one in the circle has been updated with new controls.
But how's the rest of them?
The one in the back, the one going out the dead end there toward the workspace, that's gonna be the next one on the list. to get
What's that
some
cost gonna be?
upgrade. I don't have a price on it, I mean, it costs us $10,000 to put new controls in the other one. But that's the one that's probably the most neglect, and it's very, very little flow goes through it too,
Mhm.
so.
Well,
I've been
we're
looking
developing
at,
those lots down there, so.
No, but we do have numerous pump stations.
Yes.
And how's the upgrade on all of them?
well, we just replaced a Paul Street pump, and that's on the order of about 60,000. I wanna put in, I have in this budget another Paul Street pump.
Okay.
That's kind of where our main flow is going, that's kind of our main critical.
Well, no question about it.
Right,
Mhm.
so I will look over the coming years to continue to kind of upgrade these smaller stations, but I wanted to focus on, that, at Paul Street of the 3 pumps, one just hadn't been operating.
Right.
So we just got that installed, that'll be up and running here, I would imagine, in the next week or two. And then I want to replace another pump, and then I think we're gonna expand and go out into the
I
other
think the
stations.
easiest solution would be when you're doing the budget is anticipating what the expenditure should be over a period of time, so we don't get hit halfway through the year and say we gotta spend another $67,000 on
Mhm.
something. that we didn't anticipate.
Mhm.
That's all. Right.
And Kathy's here, I'm not picking on Kathy, I'm just picking on the line item. It is, for the sewer and water is 12,300 each. Is that like 50% of her duties?
Between the two of them, 25, yeah.
So it's 50% of the other 50% is public
The town side.
works.
Yes.
In total, it's 50%.
Yeah.
Now, there also specifically, we have our engineering aide who does give us some support as well, and it's, I think we're getting some value out of that.
It's not
That's-
separately allocated, but,
Yeah.
So I look at that as kind of the administrative, cost from that department, and as they assist us, because they're picking up the phone calls, walk-ins that need questions with mapping and where sewer
Yeah.
lines are and all that. I mean, between Kathy and Britt,
And Britt,
they
yeah.
answer a lot of those questions.
Well, obviously, the big one on here is capital.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done, and what do you think you can do further to reduce our financial dependency on Wright Pierce?
Well, we're probably more heavily dependent on them, obviously, on the water side. They're just, they're like a full service. They have structural people if they need it, instrument people if they need it, electrical people if they need it. Our department is really me.
Well, it's like Superman, right?
I mean, putting out the plans and specs, there's significant amount of work and effort that goes into that. There's software packages that you use these days now that we're just not really equipped or have the expertise as myself only to basically be able to do that. So I try to, submit the payment requests, and I'm slowly but surely trying to learn a lot of the paperwork that goes into the DWSRF. That whole system where we're getting loan and grant money, there are multiple forms, multiple hurdles, multiple approvals that you have to go through along the way. A lot of companies don't even bother with trying to get those 2% loans because of the administrative effort that it takes. So as I'm going along, I'm trying to kind of get a better handle on all the various, requirements and submittals that are needed.
So you figure in a few years, once we get our tank in up the new tank in, that we're not gonna be using the plant?
That's the plan. I think when we get the wells.
We don't have to maintain that plant?
It will remain to be seen how we're gonna have to handle that with the state. If the new well and we have the tank allows us to not use the surface supply, that's gonna be a question for another day as to what are we
Can
gonna
we
do.
find out ahead of time if we have to maintain it?
Well, here's the thing, if you wanna keep it as an emergency supply, I think from the state's standpoint, you're gonna need to be able to produce water that's gonna meet all the requirements, which means
That's not gonna go away.
putting money into it.
That's what I'm trying to
And
say.
it may not be worth it. So it just may be retiring those. At that point, then there's really not a lot of maintenance or upkeep, other than, say, the structure. You might need a roof, you may need to still heat it in the wintertime. So there's more decisions to be made as we go forward, I think. What does the town wanna do with that asset?
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be an answer until,
No, I'm not
Right.
trying to.
Till we
get in
have the
middle
well
of
and
it.
the
What I'm
tank in
saying is
place.
that we spend X amount of dollars to maintain that, once them tanks are in effect, that should be enough that we don't have to pay anymore.
yeah, I would think so. As long as you're gonna keep those buildings,
Well, they have to be maintained.
Correct.
I understand that, right.
Correct.
No.
But you're not gonna need chemicals, you're not gonna need instrumentation to monitor the water, and that type of thing. You're not gonna be replacing
Just
valves and
wondering.
pipes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I have a hypothetical question. What about the Ed's, I don't know Ed's title. With Ed-
Chief plan operator?
Right, does Ed still have to be there if we're running the wells versus not the,
Well, we're gonna need a chief plan operator always.
okay, all right, well, that was my question.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I still have one question, following Rich's question. What do we agree on as far as the public works? You mentioned you wanna take it to zero. We haven't voted on that.
No, we haven't.
You wanna make amendment?
Yeah, I'll make an amendment that we,
Well, I'll tell you what, let me, let me put the first motion on the floor, you know, and then you can
We
make
didn't
it.
have a motion on for.
There was no.
No, I didn't do that yet. I took it out of order. So I'll put a motion on the floor. Let's start with water. So I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the water department fiscal year budget 2019-2020 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so now you can make an
All
amendment.
right, I'll make an amendment that we reduce the budget, the allocation for the Public Works Director by $10,000.
Okay, so zero that.
Second.
Okay, any other comments? Okay? Okay, so we'll first vote on the amendment to remove the 10,000 allocation line for Public Works Director. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Okay, so then the amended budget then is $4,286,670.42. So that motion is on the floor. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries. Okay, so moving to the sewer budget, I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the fiscal year 2019-2020 sewer budget in the amount of $4,500,874.
Second.
Okay, so then you wanna do the,
I'll make a motion that we reduce account number 0340230-5101, Public Works Director, in the amount of $10,000.
that was spoken with military precision.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to amend the budget by removing $10,000 from the allocation from the Public Works Director. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. So the motion now stands for the amended 2019-2020 budget in the amount of $4,490,874. Any other comments? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries.
Well, that's a quick budget.
That's a quick budget. Wouldn't it be great if the
Yeah,
town budget was
how
that?
much this thing is?
Get that over with. Okay, moving on to old business. Actually, I don't, do we have anything to discuss on either, on the summit? Marty, is that the sewer pump station, or is that all done?
No, I just will make one comment, and that is, last week I was delivered the actual easement documents, the bill of sale and Mylar, but we still have one issue about maintaining the road, which has not been resolved yet. Maintaining the access way to the pump station, which hasn't been resolved, and I know Tom is supposed to talk to somebody at Toll, but I don't know what's gonna happen.
I got an email, their opinion as they expressed it the night of the May 20th meeting when they were here was that the HOA it cannot take over the snow plowing, the winter maintenance, or future repaving. I was of the opinion that since they were private roads and that was a private driveway, I didn't think that would necessarily be for the utility department or the town to basically be responsible for the snow plowing. Yes, we will be responsible for the sewer station maintenance, but that was my opinion, so we never quite resolved it. When I had emailed way back when, going back to February, when they were first presenting that they would like us to take over both the stations on the water side and the sewer side, one of my general comments was raising the question of future maintenance, like grounds, paving, snow plowing, that type of thing. I think they did respond at that time that the roads would be, the winter maintenance and the road maintenance would be the HOA. Maybe they were not considering specifically that driveway, I'm not sure, but that seems to be where we are at this point, so.
Can you get a clarification directly from them in print?
Well, that was what I brought up at my May meeting when they indicated that they said that the HOA, that was not part of what the HOA was gonna take on. So we sort of just left it at that meeting, that pending approval by the town attorney and just resolution of the paving aspect, we'd be able to accept. So we seem,
The email that Tom was talking about was about, I think it was almost a year ago, maybe not.
it was like February.
What happened was, Tom reviewed a bunch of documents, so did I. Tom was more technical in nature. Reviewed a lot of the documents, and at that time, Attorney Khan had indicated that she had mixed the sewer and the water together. All right, so his general comments were for both altogether. But then it got to the point where we were really only talking about water, because we did the water first and then the sewer would come after. So her comment back basically said just what Tom said, that the HOA would take care of the maintenance, all right? But in her mind now, she's saying that that was only for the water, that wasn't for the sewer. That's where it comes down to.
Well,
And my point is that that pump station is serving no one. I mean, you guys, Kelly, and correct me, and Tom, not serving anybody other than the summit. We have no reason to go up there.
That's right.
You know, and it's private roads, just like Tom said, they're maintaining the roads. What the hell's the problem with them running a plow down there in the wintertime, you know?
Yeah.
I don't see it as a problem.
I'll make a motion that we tell the Summit that they need to do the maintenance, winter maintenance on the road,
And the access driveway?
on the access driveway. I mean, they're there doing it.
Yeah.
You know, for us to send a truck up to do it, I don't think it's the right thing for them to take care of it. As Marty just said, it's only them that station is
Right.
being serviced.
And it's off of a private road that they're already gonna have to snowplow.
Right, they're out there anyway. I mean, what's it take the guy to drive down one?
That's why I was kinda surprised the night that meeting came up and they said that, that it was not for the HOA to do. I can't understand why it wouldn't be.
Okay, I need clarification, you're talking about the homeowners association.
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
HOA.
I'll second
All
your
right.
motion.
Okay, so we have, with regard to the Summit ownership of the sewer pump station, we have a motion on the floor that would require the homeowners association of the Summit to assume maintenance of the access way to the pump station. Are there any other comments?
Just, do we need to define
We
it
own that,
greater
do we
than
own
that?
that pump station or they own it?
Right now, they own it.
Are they gonna transfer
I've got
it
the
to us?
documents, but I haven't transferred anything, I haven't accepted.
Is it gonna be transferred over to us
Yes.
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 As far as I know, yeah.
What it has?
to maintain it?
To maintain the building and the pumps, yes.
We're gonna own
Yes,
that.
yes, I have a signed bill of sale for the building, the pumps, everything.
And-
And I also have the access easement for the lines in the road. But I haven't accepted anything because I know there's still this one issue. That's not
And
over.
it's actually less than, the water, pump stations. There is no building. It's actually just a below
Yeah,
grade,
I'm sorry.
okay. The structure, the
structure,
wet
the
well, whatever you
structure.
wanna call it, but there's no actual physical structure.
Plus, wasn't there 2 pumping stations for the water?
Correct. And there is language in the easement that indicates if we have to dig the road up for any reason to do any future maintenance, it will be our responsibility to
replace
repave
Yeah.
it to its original condition at that time. So, I mean, we're not
Understand.
shirking that,
Yeah.
and it is in writing in the easement. So unless maybe that's their misunderstanding, that they didn't think we were gonna do that part of it, but that's pretty clearly defined.
Kathy, do you have questions?
Can we just add in there that it's the access way, to the sewer pump station?
Correct.
Yes, sewer,
Okay.
yes.
Correct, yeah,
okay.
that's all we're talking
I
about.
don't know how long.
Okay.
It's not very long. It's like, I don't know, how long is the road? I can't remember.
100 feet at the most?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. And they're up there plowing already, you know, I mean, we're gonna send a truck up there special for that? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
what if we get there before they've plowed their
Yeah.
roads?
I
Now,
mean,
now what are
do
we
you
doing?
do? Yeah.
Or after and they plowed it in.
Yeah.
But
That's-
you're gonna
yeah.
maintain the pump station though?
Correct. Anything
So
goes
if
wrong with
it's
the
not
pumps,
plowed-
the
so if it's not
controls,
plowed, How are you gonna maintain it? You're gonna have to plow
No, they got, before
No,
we
no.
accept it, they
it?
have
No.
to.
If something happens,
Well, their toilets are gonna stay backed up
and you have
until
to
they
go up
get
there
up
with
there
the
with a
pump
plow.
station down.
Their toilets will stay backed up until they get up there with a plow then.
That's kinda asinine, but.
Well, that's the
It
way
is,
it's gonna
it
be.
is totally asinine. What I'm trying to say is, if the pump station should fail, you get an alarm, and we have to go up there and it's not plowed, what are we gonna do? Wait, call them and get the truck to plow so we don't fix it?
if we have an emergency, then I think we'll take care of it at that point in time, unless they've already done it. But on a regular basis, when there's no problems up there, and it's just a typical snowstorm, they should be handling that.
How often,
In my opinion.
how often do you visit the station?
Right now, probably about once a week,
Once a week?
but we put it into the rotation, we go to the 2 water stations, every afternoon.
They already
That's-
agreed to do that with the water. What's the difference? Other than this is a little bit more defined driveway.
Correct.
That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, the
And-
two
and the
water
one-
stations are right off of their
Right.
road.
Road,
They
so
get
they
a
want that to look
turnaround.
nice there too. All
Okay,
right, that's what my
Vote on
motion
it?
was.
All right.
Paul seconded it.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so we have just a question, do you wanna modify that motion to accept emergencies, or is that
No,
necessary?
no.
All right.
If we have an emergency, we'll get there ourselves.
Yeah, we'll just handle it on an ad hoc
Okay.
basis, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to require the homeowners association to maintain the access way to the sewer pump station. Any further comments? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I post.
Okay, one opposition, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to PUC capital project summary, pursuant to the goal of reducing Wright Pierce's bill, we figured, Tom and I talked about this, we figured that, for routine, reporting, we didn't need to have Marius here for every meeting, so, he left us with the report, and Tom can address any questions that you might have.
Any movement on the state with the approvals?
Wells?
They gave it, yeah, for the wells.
No,
I have
no.
nothing.
Nothing further. I was at a meeting, Deep had, he said there were no showstoppers on on our application to Deep, and that's for a diversion permit. So I fully expect they're gonna have some comments that we'll have to address, but, he didn't give me anything specific, but
And
he
no
said no
indication-
showstoppers, so
No
I thought that was
indication
good.
when we might hear from them.
No, they typically leave themselves a 6-month period. In years past, I've seen those things drag on. I think they've done a better job now of trying to keep to their 6-month, deadline.
Now, is that primary for the amount of water that we can pump out, or is what is?
Yeah, the diversion is basically your absolute limit on what you can pump out. They're gonna give you a maximum, per day.
Okay. And this isn't related to that, but like the old wells on Maple Avenue that we're currently not using, do we run those and still do a test in case, one of the new wells broke down that we could turn one of the other wells on? Is that allowable?
Yeah, I never asked that specific question, but, I mean, those are still permitted wells. They're, we haven't like retired them, so to speak.
Right.
No.
All right.
So they're available to us.
So do we run those and do
We,
a pump every now and then?
We have.
we haven't at this point. I wanted to get that Bergstrom well up and online before we started. I mean, the interior of that Chestnut, of the Maple Station is pretty,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think we should come up with a schedule that we run those pumps periodically. I mean, I don't wanna wait a year and then start the pump up and we find that it won't start,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
even
maybe.
if we run them for 10 minutes or something, or, I mean, we run our generators for
Sure,
15
yeah,
minutes
no,
like that, so.
it's a good point. My point would have been to do that probably not during like the July or August period, just in case.
Okay.
We do have the tank available to us, so that's gonna help us.
Are
I
they,
haven't done it yet, but.
are they valved off where we could do a blow off on them, Kelly?
Yes.
They are, okay. All right, well, it's just something I'd like to see in,
Okay.
some kind of schedule that we're gonna,
Yeah,
to do that.
What would you recommend, about every 6 months on those? Because I just don't wanna see a motor or a pump just decide to freeze up.
Yeah, I hear you. I would think maybe like on a once a month, maybe might be
A 10-minute
a
overturn
good
blow-up.
cycle to do,
Okay.
Even if you just let it run for a few hours and let it cycle with the tank.
Is it
And-
currently on a PM schedule for lubrications and whatnot?
If there's anything to be lubricated, they do, but
So there's
it's
no
just
schedule?
nothing, everything else are sealed units in the ground now. These are, the old ones are above ground units. And really, there's really not much, I mean, they're greasing the bearings at the bottom of the motor, that's about it, but they haven't run either. So they've got packed grease in them.
All right, well, think about that and let's get back on that.
Now, why don't we put that-
and-
put that
I
on
agree.
the
We'll
agenda
set up an
for
exercise
schedule.
One month from now.
Yeah, 'cause my biggest thing was if a pump went down, one of the new submersibles went down,
Mm-hmm.
we need to activate one of those other pumps to get it back on,
Yeah.
to have the amount of water that we're pumping out of there. And so we're out to bid for the water lines, correct?
Yes, July 23rd.
July 23rd.
Kathy,
Is
will you
the
put
bid.
that
Do
on
we
the
have
agenda
any
for a
interest?
month from now?
I've
Thank
gotten
you.
a couple, I've gotten at least one or two calls. I think we got,
2 calls or 2 people picked up the specs?
well, the one call was they couldn't get into the link to get to the plans, and I guess that's been squared away. And then you think Grasso also
I think it
inquired?
was Grasso, I mean, I think total, I think I had talked to 3 different people about it, so.
Whether they all bid is another story.
Yeah.
I think we got four bids on the last water main job.
And Grasso's working,
Yes.
is he making progress?
They've pressure tested and disinfected Pleasant Rise and the Tremont Whitlock Melillo line.
And then second, I just got back the chlorine report today, so that's fine.
So the chlorinated second as well, okay,
Now it's just tying them in, start flipping services.
yeah.
All right.
So they're back in town and they're moving.
And they're working, okay. Well, okay, my last thing is for Kelly, about my hydrants. The ones with the bags that we're gonna remove.
Yeah, I know, I didn't take the bags off yet, I forgot about them, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I forgot
Yeah,
about them, but
yeah.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah, I know you want the one on Taylor Avenue, and then, and I also looked into the one in front of the library there, and I think we can just do away with that one.
yeah, just do away with it, yeah. I
Totally,
mean,
we'll
it's-
dig it right there in the curb and cut it right off.
Right.
Because that whole system is interlooped with some 12-inch main that must have been done back in the 90s. So it's all looped in together.
Yeah, I just hate driving through town
And
and see
seeing a bag on a hydrant.
bag on a
Yeah,
hydrant, and,
yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah, it's just that one, right, visible.
All right, so stay on top of those, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Any comments or questions about the project list? The only thing I wanted to point out is, with regard to the Briarcliff tank, site walk with inland wetland is, I think it's this afternoon.
Now, Dave McCollum caught me today and
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was canceled for today.
Probably because I couldn't get people to.
So he's gonna reschedule it and he said he'll put me on the invite list when they do that.
Okay, and then planning and zoning will include this in their public hearing on July 23rd, so I plan to attend, and we might want to do that. Any other questions? Hearing none? Kelly? Supervisor's report?
As you know, pump 2 got installed, the new pump for Paul Street, that's the middle one. That got installed last week. We've just got to have the electrical done to put it back online. And then we have to bring in a company called McVac. What they'll do is they have to vacuum out one of the uprights, one of the discharge lines. They have to just, because over time, they start to build up with solids. We've had it periodically, had to have it done. So I'm waiting for them to come and give me a quote. They were supposed to come today, but they didn't. The pipe cleaning company's back in town. They did the right-of-way from, they're working on the right-of-way that goes along the train tracks into Paul. And they're also working on the line that goes behind the storage unit coming from Worcester. They are finding a lot of heavy sediment in there. So what they call that is heavy cleaning. So it's just, they have to come in and catch it before it goes into Paul Street, but they have to go in with what's happening now, the hose is going into the sediment. It's just not free flowing up the line so that they can put a camera in there. But that's what we're waiting to see is the condition of the pipe in there. But it's basically, it's not that it's solids or, it is solids, but it's more sedimentation on the bottom of the pipe. I mean, this is the first time we've been in there. I've been here for 14 years, and we've never been in there. So they're in the process of working that now. Like I said, they came out this morning to do it. And then a service leak on Golden Hill, which has been corrected. But other than that, pretty much status quo.
Was that the one you couldn't get Pembroke to for a while because of the weather? Okay. So that one's fixed.
Yeah, that following day.
Okay, very good. Right,
How about, what's the status of our situation over on Good Hill Road area, Nashville, with the house behind the house? We've,
I
We've
think
done
we
anything
left
with
that
that?
between the homeowners.
Yeah, we met with, both owners and just, they're gonna have to work some kind of an agreement out between them.
do we have a responsibility? We've given them water
That's
over
the
the
problem,
years.
we've given them water for probably 50 years,
Yeah.
50, 60 years. But
I mean,
again,
can it be a three-way agreement or something, or?
I don't know, I contacted the health department, asked them for documentation for sinking a well, and I got a stack of crap like this, to be honest with you.
No, that's water, not sewer.
Yeah, well, but that's, and I still have to go through it just to get the idea was to see how deep the wells were up there, if it was possible. You know, I just think that one of the problems we have is that it is indicated in some past records that this was there and nobody ever said anything or did anything about it, so I think that's a problem. You know, hopefully they'll work it out, I don't know.
Is there pressure being applied to remedy the situation, or is it just an ongoing thing?
Well, I think it's a combination of things too, because you gotta remember the purchaser of the property, where the line goes through the house, bought it through a foreclosure. So $50 says they never even realized that the line went through the building to start out with, otherwise it might have been resolved then. You know, I don't know.
And the house on the other end of that just sees a meter and says,
Right.
oh, I got city water, without really probably knowing much of how and why. Assuming there's city water up there. Meanwhile, she's really getting it from the neighbor's house, through the neighbor's house.
I also received from the health department where the septic line is for the house in front, in case something in the form of an easement can be worked out, or we stay away from this, from the septic fields are.
Part of the problem is gonna be as well, even if you take the line that's going through the house to serve, the house on Good Hill, it's still a 1 inch, or maybe even a 3/4 inch line that's tapped all the way down at the main. So even if you took it out of the house and you brought it around the house in an easement, you still got the two houses on the one line, and when one's taking a shower or doing something with water, it's really impacting the other, so. It's probably never ever should have happened that way, of course, but.
That's been there for years,
Yep.
because when they were developing Good Hill, that was part of it.
anything else, Colin?
No, sir.
Okay.
One question for Kelly. Flushing the hydrants up on the hill there, when do you plan to do that?
well, that has to be done at the end of our flushing. I would like to start flushing this month. I also wanna get my new guy from the sewer side over to the water side, so I really wanna get started on this.
All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Let me tell you about those transfers.
Yeah.
$500